Welcome back to the shop. All right, today we are back on the TA and we are playing with the Hydro Boost brake system that we are installing on this thing with a Willwood master cylinder. We have had a lot of trouble with this kit. We had the wrong brackets to mount it to the firewall originally and had to get the right stuff sent, and the hose kit didn't show up for like 6 months, and when it did, it's a cut to fit type deal, and they weren't supposed to be hoses 10 feet long like these are, or whatever the length of these are. I hadn't really taken them out of the pack yet, but this Performance Online kit has been terrible. I hate to badmouth any companies, but this kit is not a very good kit. It says installation instructions, and all it does is give you bleeding procedures, and it gives you a little diagram, but it doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't tell you anything. It's not instructions at all. So, and it shows the Hydro Boost flipped over from how we have it. So I got a little paranoid. I had to do some research, make sure you can run this thing in either configuration. So you can have it upside down or right side up, or if you have it the other way, the fittings are on top. The way we have it, the fittings will be on the bottom. It gets your accumulator out of the way from over here, and that's just the way we're running it. So not supposed to matter one way or the other. So basically they give you a bag of fittings, which I'm pretty sure are not going to accommodate everything that we need, because this is a LS and not a original Pontiac engine. But we're going to start taking this stuff out and figuring it out. I studied on this routing procedure just a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that, but basically you have a return and a pressure coming out of the pump. Our pump's a little different than this. That's the original style pump, upside down. Everything's kind of upside down backwards on this diagram. So on this LS we have a pressure port here. So that's where our pressure is going to come out, and in the side of the tank, which you can't really see, there is where my finger is. That's where your return is going to come out of, and your return also comes out of here, out of the power steering gearbox. So we've got to put a T in between here. We've got to put a fitting in the side of the reservoir tank, which is the reservoir where all the fluid goes. Your return is going to have a T in between, and will come off of the Hydro Boost system on this side right here. You can see that. I hope you can see that. So our pressure line will come from the pump to this side, I believe. I do believe. Let's see, here the accumulator is. Ours is on this side. So yep, I'm right. So that is the pressure. And then the fitting, there's another fitting here, which I don't have the fitting in it yet. It's right here. That'll be pressure back to the rack. So you have pressure from the pump from there to there, pressure from the other side back to there, and then the return goes back to there. So we've got to start getting fittings figured out. We got to start getting fittings figured out and start laying out some line, cut the stuff to length. Yeah, and then we got to deal with the rod on the inside that they sent. It's about 10 feet long. That's going to be a cut to fit deal too. It's basically just a piece of threaded rod that's probably about 10 inches long, if not a foot. And I got to figure out how long to make that and cut that down. Like I said, this kit is not really a kit. It's just a bunch of parts thrown in a box. And unfortunately, I just had a really bad experience with this company. So hopefully you have a better experience if you choose to go with them on your kit, but I wouldn't recommend it myself, just from the experience we had. Now, we did order all this stuff a couple years ago originally, and it was kind of during the pandemic, and you know how part supplies have been just an absolute nightmare during those times. So hopefully they've gotten stuff straightened out and gotten by now, this is 2020 into 2022, December 2022, so hopefully they've got some of that stuff ironed out on part supplies. So anyway, we're gonna jump into this thing and start mapping this thing out so we can finish this brake system, and then basically I just got to wire this thing, which it's already wired. I just got to mount some stuff. I got to move the battery to the trunk and power this thing up, run some cables, hide some cables. Got to run my OBD2 into the inside of the car. Can't remember what's what. So that's our old harness. Got to figure out what we need to eliminate, what we need to hook up, and then we got to finish our cooling system, which is just hoses, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with the bleeds, but that's for another video. I got my fittings installed. Got the two fittings in the power steering gearbox. I've got the fittings in both sides of the booster. I don't have the fitting for the reservoir tank that goes to this T, and I don't know if that's all I'm going to be missing or not. Got to play around with this thing for a few more minutes and think about it for a minute. Some fittings down, trying to get this make sense out of this kit, but it doesn't make much sense. But the this fitting right here, hopefully that's not too bright, that goes into the pump right here. It took me a while to track that thing down today. I'll pull it out and show it to you in just a second, because as you can see, it's a pretty tight fit in there. I'm not real sure how I'm going to get a wrench on that thing. I thought maybe I turned the pulley where I could get in through here, but I still can't get to it, I don't think, unless I can't come from an angle, which I might be able to do, but I really don't think I can without rounding some edges, and I don't want to do that. I might be able to take this pulley back off this idler and get to the line fitting, but I've got to be able to tighten this adapter fitting right there. Fitting back out. This fitting that goes into the pump, which is I think they're calling it a GM Type 2 pump. This is a Locar Classic Series accessory drive kit, and I've got a video of installing this kit, but they don't send, and this is their pump, you know, this is their whole configuration, except I had to change the water pump out and the harmonic balancer crank pulley out, because the stuff that came on this LS3 crate engine didn't line up. You can go back and watch that in the previous videos on that. And so the power steering pump comes with the kit, right? So you'd think that they would give you fittings, or at least give you an option to buy fittings for some like Dash 6 stuff. They don't offer fittings at all. So I did call them. The tech line gave me the threads because I wasn't quite sure. So this is a 16, it's a metric 16 1.5 with a Dash 6. So luckily we have a local hydraulic hose manufacturer called Royal Brass and Hose. It's in Marietta, Georgia. They're not really open to the public anymore, but since I've been dealing doing business with them for about 17, 18 years. They allowed me to buy from them. They had it local, so it's a 40-minute drive each way from where I live. So I drove down there this afternoon to get this one fitting, and it does thread in there. And I just got to figure out how I'm going to tighten it without taking this whole kit back apart. So the moral of the story is, if you're doing one of these kits, figure out your fittings before you put the kit together, because it would have been a lot easier if I would have threaded this in and tightened it and installed this hose on it before I assembled all that, because now I'm having a hard time figuring out how I'm going to tighten it. I don't know if I might be able to get a crow's foot in there, so I pulled it back out and see if I can get a crow's foot on there. It's got a little O-ring at the bottom. I hope this is the right fitting, that it will actually seal that and not spew fluid everywhere, power steering fluid. This has been a fun adventure. So I've got my fittings in the box, the gearbox, and I got a plumb, a pressure, and a return, pressure, and then a return. And then I got to tee the return, and they're suggesting you put a filter in there, which doesn't come in the kit. Yay. So all right, I'm going to try to see if I can figure out how to get this fitting and this line attached, because I've got to kind of lay my lines out, because I'm going to cut them to fit and then put the other fittings on, which I still don't think I have enough fittings, especially if I'm going to, pretty sure I'm going to use this short one here to do the line over to the return, which and so this is the pressure side of the pump coming out of the pump, which is the 16 1.5. That took me about half a day to figure out and get a hold of. And I was going to order it, but it was going to take like a week to get it. So that's why I drove an hour and a half to go get this thing, because I didn't want to wait a week, because I'm ready to get this part of this project done. This is day 2 of me fooling with this. The beginning of this video is from the day before, and I'm going to go into the 3rd day on this, just fooling with some lines, because one-man show takes forever sometimes. The one that goes in the side of the reservoir tank, which is right up under here, it's right, where is it? Somewhere in there, right in the bottom of that tank, basically right above where this hose goes from the tank to the pump. So this is your fluid reservoir. There's a quarter MPT or pipe thread that goes in there, and I've got a fitting with -6 on it. So the quarter fitting is I got this from Napa, my local Napa. They did not have the other fitting. That's why I had to go, hour and a half round trip to go get it. It's a 6MJ-4 MP, which is equivalent to a -6 quarter pipe thread, quarter MPT. So that should work for my return, at least getting it into the reservoir. Still got to tee it. It did come with a tee. I don't know if I'm going to be able to thread that straight onto the side of the reservoir. That's what I'm hoping for. And then a line from the bottom of it to there, and then the other side to back there, to the other side of the pump, which has a nipple on it. I don't know if you can see that right there. It does not have a -6 line in it. It just has a push-on deal. So I'll probably have to get a -6 for that if I'm going to run all steel braided on it. If not, maybe that's what this little thing in the kit is for. This looks like a chintzy little hose clamp, but you can't put a hose clamp on these lines. So I'm not sure. It's silly. This kit was not well thought out at all. I mean, it's terrible, and it's for the Hydro Boost. It's not necessarily for an LS or a specific power steering pump, but that's what's making it a little difficult on that end. But now I've got that figured out. I gotta, you know, it's just anyway. Find a better kit if you're doing this. And if you're building one from scratch, which you can do all this from scratch, you don't have to buy a kit. You're just gonna have to sit here and, you know, fumble through and figure out fittings. If you don't have a pile of fittings you can play with, hopefully this video will help you, you know, assemble your own kit. With the alternator out of the way, I can move the tank around a little bit. And I can go ahead and put my fitting in for my return, and I can tighten up my fitting here. And I want to get a better look at this to see if I feel like this is the right setup. I'm really hoping that this little O-ring right here is going to seal down inside of there. Hopefully y'all can see that. It's not too bright. It looks like it's blowing the picture out a little bit. So that's what I'm dealing with. That's the end. I'm hoping that O-ring is going to seal us up there, or I'll be taking all this back apart once it gets running and changing this fitting out for something else. So I've got a little thread sealer on there, just liquid Teflon basically, and I'm going to thread that in, start that there, and then I'm going to run that in there and tighten that down. And this thing's not going to be running within 24 hours, but it says you have 24 hours for that to make an adjustment with that stuff before it totally sets up. So that should seal out pretty good. I'll tighten that bad boy down, and then we will put the T on. I don't want to try to get too crazy with it because I don't want to strip anything out. But that's pretty good firm tightening on that. And like I said, hopefully the other side doesn't leak. I'm really wondering if I should put some pipe thread on it, some sealer on it. I don't know if I trust that little O-ring or not on this deal. I had a little pipe thread on there too. Might keep us from leaking, you know. Dilemma. I pulled the fitting and I put a little Teflon sealer on it because I don't trust the little O-ring. It's gonna hold that pressure. So we will see if that helps us or not. Hopefully it does, because I don't want to take that stuff back apart. Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully it will. We will find out once this thing's running. Hopefully this thing will be running soon. We gotta get a battery box relocation kit. Well, I've got to finish this first. Can't count the chickens before they hatch, right? All right, day 3 of plumbing this thing. It is cold. It is 38 degrees in the shop. We're gonna fire up these heaters right now. See if we can't get this thing warmed up a notch. Again, and got our line hooked up to the pressure side. I don't remember where I left off. We're running the pressure from the pump to the pressure inlet on the Hydro Boost system, which is right there. So I ran the line over, and then I marked where I wanted to cut it with the tape. And I'm using these cutters that I think I got these from Summit or something when I ordered some fittings one time. They'll cut right through this PTFE style hose, steel braid. I made this cut just as a test cut because it's the first time I've cut steel with these. Those are newer line cutters, hose cutters I haven't used on the steel braided yet. So anyway, it cut it pretty clean. So we got to slide the fitting over it, and then you slide the olive in between the steel braid and the Teflon hose that's in there, and then it crushes down, and I'll show y'all how to do that in the vise. So I bought these cheap gloves at the local China Freight, and just for the simple fact I wanted a pair of clean gloves. I've got some good mechanics gloves, but they're nasty, and I wanted some clean ones so I wouldn't get nasty fingerprints all dug into this new stainless, because this stuff will cut you up. I mean, it will just a little bit of handle on it yesterday, I had blood everywhere. So I thought, well, I'll just buy some cheap gloves, and I'm going to cut this as square as possible here. So I stuck it in the vise, and this thing cuts fairly quick and easy. As you can see, it does kind of mash the hose a little bit, so you've got to work. I stick a screwdriver in and just kind of work it back round again. And I didn't have the hose in there real tight where it would crush, but you can. I'll show you on this side. See how it kind of flattens it out? You just stick a screwdriver in there and round it back up. You can get it back round enough where you can get your fitting in it. I don't need to keep this tape on here, so I'm going to peel it off, which I will not be able to do with these gloves on. These are the worst feeling gloves I've ever bought. They're like $5 at the China Freight. I just grabbed some painter's tape that I had laying on top of my toolbox to mark the line where I wanted to make my cut. I left the hose a little long. That's for maneuverability. There we go. I'm telling you, the end of that hose will poke you up. It will bloody your fingertips pretty quick. So that's why I'm preferring to wear some gloves, some clean gloves at that. So basically, we'll take our fitting off, slide that over there. You can still slide it up, screw it back on. All right, and the olive, I hope I can do this with gloves on, will slide in between the steel braid and the Teflon. So you can take your little screwdriver and walk in between that steel braid. And just kind of walk around that Teflon and the steel braid to try to give you some room to get that olive started there. Hope you can see that. And this is time consuming and can be frustrating. I'm gonna take this glove off so I can't work this olive. Hopefully I won't tear my fingers all up. Okay. So you stick it down as far as you can. You want it all the way down until it hits that lip inside of there. And you want it, that's why it's important to cut your hose straight so your fitting will go on straight. And then you stick your fitting in to the Teflon. So and you slide your collar or whatever you want to call that back up to the threads, which this is a good time to put it in a vise. Being this is steel, I'm not worried about not having soft jaws, but if you have soft jaws, it'd be better. So basically you're going to work that down. Tighten the vise up. You're going to work that down until you get to the threads, and then you'll put a wrench on it and start spinning it down. So I'm going to work on that for a second. Alright, so I own a set of AN wrenches that I've had for years and years, being around fuel systems and race cars. So basically, we're just gonna crank it down. If you guys want to know why it costs so much money to build a fuel system or to build custom lines, because it's time consuming. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it can be a pain, and it can be very time consuming. All right, here we go. Now this side was done from the factory. That's like a factory crimped on deal, and this is the end that you put on yourself, and that's how it works. So hopefully I've got this clocked right. I didn't think about that, clocking the fitting. I can always loosen it up and spin it, I believe. And we're gonna go check that on the car now. That's screwed back onto the fitting, And then looking back over here, I can see that I definitely did not think this through, because basically I want this line to lay like this, and that is about 180 degrees out from where I need it to sit. So we're going to try to turn this 180 degrees. So back to the vise. Okay, so I'm going to try to loosen this back up and see if I can turn it. Yeah. Just turn it where we need it and tighten it back down. Make a pressure line tester. Basically, you screw a cap in. This is -6. You use a -6 fitting cap, and then the other side you would use, it doesn't matter which side, you'd use another -6 fitting that has basically a Schrader valve for like a tire in it. You pump it up with air, you can dunk it in a bucket or rub soapy water suds on it and see if you have any bubbles, to see if you have any leaks before you put them on. It's a great idea, and I was going to order a set, but it was going to take like 2 weeks to get them, so I need to go ahead and build these lines, and hopefully I won't have any leaks. If so, I'll pull it back off and fix it. But I don't know if I've ever had like a fuel line AN fitting leak on me or anything like that over the years, not that I can remember. So they usually go on first time without a problem. I'm not going to say I'm an expert at this PTFE, because this is the first time I've ever dealt with it, but I've done a lot of the regular steel braided line stuff. It does not use that olive, that crush sleeve in between, and that stuff's even easier to deal with than this is. And don't let this stuff scare you. It's not that difficult to deal with. You just need a couple specialty tools. You got to have a good pair of cutters. I used to, back in the day, I'd take a big chisel and I'd set this on the concrete floor. I'd mark where I want to cut it, and I'd put the chisel on the line, and I'd take a hammer, wham, wipe it, and just cut it in one fell swoop. And that works. It doesn't get you a lot of debris inside. If you take these lines and you cut them with a Ziz wheel, cut-off wheel, even with a hacksaw, you get all kinds of fine particles inside, and then you got to clean the lines out. And if you don't get it all out good, then that stuff ends up in your pumps, filters, injectors, jets, regulators, whatever. So you don't want that stuff in. That's why I think that little pair of cutters that I just showed you is the ticket. Cuts right through this steel like butter, and doesn't leave you any debris, and doesn't fray the line. So, all right, so we're going to screw it back on the pump. Make sure we clocked our fitting the right way. Like I said, it can be a little time consuming getting the stuff done right, but if you do it the right way, you're going to be so much more happy with your project. All right, that one's ran, locked down on both ends. I probably could have ran it a little shorter than that. I wanted to run it a little long. I didn't intend it to quite be that long, but it's not going to hurt anything. It could be shortened up, but we would need another olive for crushing down. So we're going to leave it like that for now. I'm going to run the other one just a little bit long too, not quite as long as that one, but I wanted to leave room for flex. And if ever the motor mount was to break and it twisted up, it wouldn't yank these lines. You got plenty of room for that. Chassis flex, all that stuff. I didn't want them super tight. Plus, it would be very hard to get screwed at either end if you don't have a little slack in there. These things are in a bit of a bad spot down here in the back, and a little bit hard to get started anyway. And this one, you've got to, you got to take alternator bracket off to get to it. So anyway, we're gonna go and build us another one real quick. I'll show you one more, and then we'll probably wrap this one up for this video. Okay, I'll give you a little bit different of a camera angle, a little bit closer up shot, but I think you pretty much get the gist of it. It's not very difficult. Cut your line, go over, you know, spread the line out a little bit, get your clovis, your olive in, crushed leaf, whatever you want to call it. And I've been listening to too much Tyler Childers. Banded Clovis. I just listened to that song. I don't know why I said Clovis. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna get this line built and move on. All right, so I wanted to touch on the return line because I didn't hadn't addressed that at all yet, and didn't know what I was going to do with it because it had this fitting sticking out of the side of the hydro boost there, and I knew I didn't want to put a rubber line on that. Everything else is going to be 6AN. I wanted to go 6AN. I wasn't quite sure what this was in the little kit, and I said, well, it's 6AN, so let's screw this thing out and see what it is. Well, that's what it is. It's for that. It's to put a 6AN on it. I have seen another video of some off-road fellas saying don't put a 6AN on it, but I don't know if they knew about that little deal. I don't know. This kit comes with one. It doesn't look like it's going to restrict anything, and they also say don't put a T in it. That video I watched said don't put a T in it, but this kit comes with a T in it, and it's a pretty big line. I mean, 6AN is pretty big. It's 3/8. I mean, it's pretty big. It's not going to restrict it. I think we'll have plenty of flow back. It's going to tee into there, and the other one's going to come out of here. So I think it's going to be fine. I don't see why that would give you any problems. Now, you know, in a big, if you're running big Ram style steering on kind of a 4x4 where you got a big hydraulic cylinder that's helping assist the power steering gearbox, and you're running, you know, it's probably, they're probably, what they're doing is probably not running enough pump. Because I saw in that same video they talked about having too big of calipers and all this stuff. Well, they're running out of pumps, what it sounds like to me. So, but I don't know. I haven't dealt that. That's not my my specialty by any means. So I don't know. I'm just guessing. So I'm gonna stick this bad boy. It's gonna go right here, and we'll make another 6AN line to that, to that tank, or we'll tee it into the tank, and that'll be it on that. But I'm not going to show that. It's boring. This video is getting a little on the long side, so we are going to wrap it up, and catch me in the next one, and I will show you the finishing touches on this stuff, and we'll work on the brake pedal rod at that point, see how much modifications we have to do to that to make that work, and then we'll put the starter on and start wiring this thing. And probably gonna make some short exhaust pipes just to hook to this exhaust so that it doesn't wig the O2 sensors out before he gets the exhaust ran on it. Just seem like probably put like a bullet muffler or something on a 10-inch pipe or something, just dump it for now, and just so we can run this thing and it doesn't wig the O2 sensors out, and then he can take it to the muffler shop and get the exhaust ran on it however he wants. And yeah, I'm still waiting to hear back from him. I sent him a message 2 or 3 days ago. Hadn't heard anything back on getting the battery relocation kit for the trunk. We need to get some parts ordered for that so we can keep moving. I'm working on this when I can, when I'm not driving a truck, and we got a little slow, so I had a couple days this week, so you know, I had to sit down. I drug my feet and should have went a little faster on this, but sometimes I just got to take my time and go at my speed and not be rushed because I got a lot of stuff going on. All right, catch me in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.